personally, I was mesmerized, and as a group, we were mesmerized because I was like, is he trying to be funny?
No.
No. I mean, initially, like, I didn't see it. I just read about it because I was being portrayed
You were made a target in the media as someone who dumped him.
Yes, I was. And I really suffered for that. And I kept being told to take the high road, which, again, I write is woman speak for shut the fuck up.
Right.
And so I did.
And it was so painful for you. And I remember that time.
It was
you
painful.
never spoke up. And I even remembered you would come on my show and I would say, should we clear the air about this? And you were like, don't ask me about it.
I'm like, I don't want to forward the narrative. I don't want to prolong this storyline. I don't understand why he's saying it. And I don't get it. And whatever it's not good, and I don't want to get it.
Right.
Whatever it is, I don't understand it. And maybe certain things are not for me to understand. I know the truth. Everybody that works here knows the truth.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Are most people besides us in this world fixating on
whether you and Regis are still best friends?
Yes, they're not. I know that.
But that being said, you were...
It was shattered.
Painful, and you were made a target. It was like...
It was painful, it was hurtful, and I was made a target by people that know better, that ought to know better, that could have easily just quickly...
Asked you.
Checked.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what... And I keep saying it's like... It's one of those things that is uniquely... It's uniquely a woman problem.
Right.
Anytime you get the chance to pit a man against a woman, the woman will lose every time. It's too sexy of a story to think of like me being this ingrate that doesn't have his back. And it was like too irresistible, even though it wasn't true and easily on camera not true.
Right.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter to people. It was a story that they wanted to tell, and they wanted to stick with it. And, it changed my opinions about a few journalists. It really did change my opinions about them because I was like, well, you ought to know better.
Right.
This will happen to you one day because you're a woman too. So I'll be over here quietly watching it when it happens.
The interesting thing is, this is, his departure from the show. And I remember when that happened, I mean, I think he called you into his office 5 minutes before and said, I'm going to announce I'm quitting, like, in 5 minutes. Was that how that happened, basically?
It was like maybe 3 minutes.
Right.
And I remember thinking, because I was standing with my assistant, Lauren, at the time, and I was like, oh, he's kidding. He's kidding. He's like, I have a big announcement to make. I'm going to announce I'm leaving. And I was like, no, that's not what I was like, is he kidding? I thought he was kidding. Wow. I was like, oh, this is one of those moments where the line between humor and shit,
Right.
And, he, I guess, was in the middle of negotiating his contract and it broke down and I don't know what happened. I wasn't privy to any of it.
Yeah.
It was just came out of his mouth. And I remember as he was saying it, I thought, oh my gosh, everybody here knows except for me. They all knew except for me. That's what, as I'm looking at him, that's what I'm thinking. Everybody knew this except for me. And then I turned and I looked at Schulweis, who was like, Regis's best friend. That was his best, closest working relationship there. And she was holding the cue cards telling us what day it is because
we have to be
reminded. You don't
reminded.
Understand if you, I know what day it is every day on my own, but as soon as I walk into that studio, I have no idea what day it is.
Yeah.
So she's holding the cue card and she's sobbing. And I realized, oh, nobody knew. Wow. Nobody knew. Wow. It's just, because in my mind, I was like, oh, everybody, he's saying this in a way that everybody knew except for me, but nobody knew.
Wow.
And I call it dark times.
Yeah.
Dark times there. We were terrified.
Right.
We were terrified.